Check this out.
Geeking Out with Joel Capitana. Geeking Out and the Geek Speak Show are powered by Collider.com, GeekTyrant.com, GameTyrant.co, Mightyville.com, RamaScreen.com, and Zergnet.com. Here's Joel.
Yes! Found a director they have. Directing Star Wars Episode 7, J.J. Abrams will be. And scripted by Michael Arndt. I won't say much more because Henry and Rachel will be covering more about Star Wars throughout the course until 2015. But yes, J.J. Abrams is taking over the universe one galaxy at a time, directing both Star Wars and Star Trek. Episode 7 geeks out in 2015, and it will spark a new trilogy. But like I said, we will be covering all things Star Wars right here at the Geek Speak Show. In other movie news, Jamie Foxx, also known as Da Django, is set to play Da Electro in the next Amazing Spider-Man 2, and it's rumored that Paul Giamatti is being eyed for the role of Alexei Mikhailovich Sietsevich, aka the Rhino. Production is expected to start next month. Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone are returning with Shailene Woodley as Hey, Mary Jane Watson. True Blood's Dane DeHaan has been casted as Harry Osborn. Avenge me, Harry! And Martin Sheen will play Uncle Ben, who just can't stay dead. Directed once again by Mark Webb, The Amazing Spider-Man 2 geeks out in 3D theaters on May 2nd of 2014. But now, let's talk about the other superhero in red and blue, Superman. Man of Steel geeks out June 14th of this year, but the fate of Warner Brothers' planned live-action Justice League of America movie might be riding on how well this installment of Superman does at the box office. Reportedly, Warner Brothers has hinted that they are awaiting the results of Man of Steel before moving further ahead. It's said that Man of Steel will have more action than all the Batman films, but if they do go ahead with the project, JLA would geek out in 2015. It's cold in her. We are midwinter and counting down to the return of HBO's Game of Thrones. The epic series returns ironically in the spring on March 31st, but HBO has released, or should I say, unleashed, new images from Game of Thrones Season 3. The show's third season will adapt about the first half of George R.R. Martin's novel, A Storm of Swords. But until then, the History Channel is giving us a chance to get our medieval fix with a new miniseries called Vikings. Vikings gives us a look at Norse living. You're going to see violence, you're going to see raping and pillaging, you're going to see drinking, and most importantly, we're going to see massive shipbuilding and open sea exploration. And no, this has nothing to do with the Minnesota Vikings, who did not go to the Super Bowl. Hey-o! Again, Vikings comes out on History Channel March 3. In tech news, the Windows 8 Pro version of Microsoft's tablet will go on sale February 9th, the day before the return of Walking Dead, and it will be available at Microsoft stores, Staples, and Best Buys. The 64GB version will retail for a measly $900, while the 128GB model will cost a cool $1,000. But you know, who looks at price tags, especially these days? But both models do come with the new Surface Pen writing stylus. Ooh, a stylus. Oh. Sony CEO Kazuo Hirai has said that it will let Microsoft make the first move regarding next-gen consoles. Coincidence or not, Microsoft has hired minimalist designer Andrew Kim to work with the Xbox 720 team. With Xbox 720 rumored for an E3 or earlier reveal, Kim may not be involved with the system's design or branding at launch. However, we can expect to see his handiwork later in the console's lifecycle. Zynga's chief game designer, Brian Reynolds, has left Zynga. In an email to his employees, the social games provider said that he had decided to move on and pursue other opportunities. Perhaps he will grow real fruits on real farms in real villas, or he'll participate in actual mafia wars. Farewell, Brian, you will be missed. But hey, since we're talking online games, Bethesda Softworks is looking for gamers like you, yes, you, to participate in a closed beta for the Elder Scrolls Online. Prospective players can sign up at signup.elderscrollsonline.com. But make sure you use your actual gaming PC so you can do the suggested DirectX diagnostic test. And here's a hint. Fill out those optional fields to increase your chances of getting chosen. And finally, the list continues to grow for Portland Comic Con. New confirmed celebrities include Andrew McCarthy from Weekend at Bernie's, Merle and Daryl from The Walking Dead, William Shatty Shatner, James Hong, who played Cassandra's dad in Wayne's World, Lou Ferrigno, Bruce Campbell, Joey Lawrence, Dean Superman Kane, the one, the only Fonzie, hey, Mr. Henry Winkler, Ray Park, the most badass actor with the least amount of lines in every movie he's in, and the tantalizing Miss Sarah Jean Underwood. And that doesn't include the dozens of artists and writers in the comic book world like Lionel Yu, Alan David, Michael Gordon, Gail Simone, Scott Snyder, Greg Land, Chris Claremont, Brian Hitch, and Stan the Man Lee. Portland Comic Con is the end of February, February 22nd, 23rd, 24th, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. This concludes this week's Geeking Out with Joel. Thanks for listening to me geek out. If you want to geek out with me some more, hit me up at joel@thegeekspeakshow.com or tweet me at joelchapitano. Till next show, avenge me, Harry!
This is the Geek Speak Show. Welcome to the Geek Speak Show. Interviews with the movers and shakers in geek culture.
Hey, this is Todd McFarlane, creator of Spawn, and one of the original founders of Image Comics.
I'm Zach Whedon.
This is Mark Zickery, writer, producer, and director of Space Command.
Hi, this is George Ascenti.
I'm Ralph Bakshi.
Hi, I'm Chris Hardwick.
People who get it, get it.
God bless the geek.
They're listening. You're consuming. You're watching it with your ears. Oh, just listen.
The Geek Speak Show is powered by Collider.com, GeekTyrant.com, RamaScreen.com, and MightyVille.com. Get ready to speak geek on the Geek Speak Show. Here's your host, Henry.
Henry?
Oh,
Who's Henry?
That's right.
This is
Welcome
Joel
to
you're
the Geek
listening
Speak Show,
to.
guys.
Hey,
Yes,
Rachel.
Yes, Joel apparently. Everyone's taking over the microphones. It's all crazy in here this week. You guys know that normally me and Henry are on here talking to each other, but Henry is off working on some WonderCon epicness for everyone.
Ooh.
Yes. So I have Joel and Jay in the studio with me today. How are you guys?
I'm hungover.
Which is funny because that's probably true. So today, Jay has a little influence on the episode, and we're going to be talking about some indie comics, which is going to be, yes, right up her alley, of course. And I have a question to start off with, of course, since how, I'm kind of leading us this week. Did you guys hear what's happening with Star Wars this week?
No.
Who's pregnant?
You're our
Who's
Star
pregnant?
Wars
I'm
matron.
your info. Okay. So I just want to let you guys know, and all the listeners, of course, that it has been announced that they're also doing spin-off movies besides the new trilogy.
Lando.
You want Lando? Is that who you're voting for?
Maybe a Lando movie.
I think
That would-
depending on who they cast, that could be amazing.
It could be. So they've said they've already decided on 2. Go to StarWars.com and check it out because everyone thinks there's going to be Yoda and everybody's going to be really mad if there's not a Boba. And I'm right up that alley. So.
I understand the urge for
Yoba.
a Boba, but I really want the Han Solo movie. Am I the only one? And I'm partitioning already. I'm like vote for Ryan Gosling for the next Han because I think that he's
What the
a
hell
very
are you talking
promising
about,
actor.
Jay?
You want to take this outside, woman?
So as much as I
Jay, can I talk to
know
you
that there's a
outside?
lot of listeners that would like a Han spinoff, I don't know that we can replace the Harrison Ford original. Like I don't know how I feel about that.
It's not about replacing.
Just
It's
CGI
about
him.
replenishing.
CGI him.
It's about starting from the next generation. It's about growing something organically and not just like how Ewan McGregor, another one of my favorite actors, portrayed young.
Me too.
Yeah, in the prequels, portrayed a young version of Obi-Wan. I think that if you get a good enough actor to portray, not do an impersonation of, but really play that character, just at a different stage in his
Are you
life.
talking about like a prequel Han Solo?
Yeah,
or
but
a post-cool Han Solo?
well, not like a post-quel.
That's a
Because then,
That's what we do here in the Geek Speak Show.
He's
Make up words.
already... You mean a sequel? That word that already exists? That means what you think it means?
Wait, what?
Well, I know there's going to be a lot of controversy about this, and you guys should email Jay and tell her what you think about it, of course. But
Come at me, bro. Come at me.
Yeah, and make sure you got your boxing gloves on. So you guys, I'm excited to talk about comics, and I know Jay is, and Joel.
I'm always excited to talk about comics.
I'm sure you'll be okay.
Rachel can't talk to you outside.
All right, guys. So yes, all the craziness is starting now, and it's going to be an awesome day.
We're hyping ourselves up for WonderCon.
Oh, we are so psyched.
Cons.
Speaking of WonderCon, real quick before we cut away, I got all of my my cosplay gear in the mail yesterday. I got a cowboy hat and I got a giant airsoft rifle. It's like 3.5 feet long.
So make sure you guys look for us at WonderCon, because Jay and I are going to be cosplaying it up for sure.
But speaking of cons, we have a guest in the studio, don't we?
We do. We have a close personal friend of mine, Mr. Ray Zepeda Jr. He's the writer-creator of an upcoming indie comic.
Say hi, Ray.
Hi, Ray.
So we're going to be talking Ray and Jay today.
Studio. There really is someone in the studio.
All right, so we'll be talking to Ray next.
Comics Commentary with Jay Gibbs on the Geek Speak Show.
Hey everybody, how you doing out there in radio listener land? A digital copy and hard copy of the book of the video game Injustice: Gods Among Us has been out for about a week now, so definitely get your hands on that. I highly recommend it and the game. The X-Files will return in June of 2013 to comic books by way of IGN, so very much looking forward to that. Some small niche amount of the population that still has Mulder and Scully on their walls. DC, Vertigo, and Neil Gaiman's The Books of Magic, one of my personal favorites, has been collected finally at long last into a single large compendium, which will be available out now, I believe, in brick and mortar stores and definitely available online if you want to do a digital download of the entire run of the series, The Books of Magic, starring a certain British young epic wizard with glasses and a brown bowl haircut before Harry Potter existed.
Who?
Tim Hunter. Yeah, my nerd credit's strong. That's what I read instead of Harry Potter when I was in junior high. Highly inappropriate for someone that young.
Who's Harry Potter?
Exactly. Cartoon Network has announced the cancellation of the beloved Young Justice cartoon and the recently successful Green Lantern Corps.
No!
In order to make room for Teen Titans Go, as in Teen Titans Go Away!
Whoa.
I'm pretty bitter about it. I really like the Young Justice cartoon, especially in its second season. And now it's over, so no more of that for me. Yeah. I love me some Wally West.
Sorry, kids, your favorite show's gone.
Exactly. Dangle the carrot and then take it away. The new
carrot?
Run. Yeah, like Wally West, because he's a carrot top.
Okay.
That's my logic. The new run on Marvel's Deadpool, 1-900 Deadpool.
Dead poop.
We just ran out of letters. Is bringing sexy back, written by Jerry Dugan and comedian of comedy / bridge troll Brian Posehn, with art by Tony Moore. Deadpool capitalizes on the recent wave of popularity behind both zombies and dead presidents. By hiring Deadpool. S.H.I.E.L.D. hires the immortal Canadian trademark mercenary, the Merc with a Mouth, as they say, in order to take down covertly, because we can't have, our regular Marvel superheroes like the Avengers killing the resurrected presidents of days past. The founding fathers are zombies, but they're sentient and they are pissed off and they are running amok.
Send in dead poop.
Exactly. Send in dead poo. And it's not the kind of thing I normally like, because I'm not a big Marvel fan. If you pay attention to the Geek Speak show, you know that about me already.
Jay, can we talk outside?
Exactly. I'm fired. I'm fired from life. My homework is to go home and drink bleach and die, and I probably won't even do that right. But Deadpool can. Deadpool's a man. He'll save us all from our boredom, basically. Not a lot going on in comics this week, but it's okay, because Deadpool issues 1 through 4, I believe, are out now at your local brick and mortar store. So please support local businesses, support Deadpool, and don't support Ryan Reynolds anymore. You know what? I want Dane Cook to be Deadpool.
He can support himself.
Exactly. He's got Oprah level money. He's just he's laughing all the way to the bank.
Ha ha ha.
And he married the chick that played Carol Ferris, his love interest in the Green Lantern movie. So Blake Lively is now Mrs. Never Gonna Be Deadpool.
That's what we do here, the Geek Speak show, talk celebrity gossip.
Exactly. Who's dating who? I think it's fun because I like that pairing in the comic books. But so I've rambled on enough, and thank you for listening. And my name is Jay, and email me at Jay, spelled Jae, at thegeekspeakshow.com. Stay tuned for next week where we will, I don't know, do something.
Interviews with the movers and shakers in geek culture, exclusively on the Geek Speak Show.
Yes, this is what we do, interviews. And today in the studio we have a guest, Ray Zepeda, and he's the writer, creator of a indie comic called Anti-Hero 113. Welcome, Ray.
Hey, everybody. How's it going?
It's going good.
It's going good.
Yeah.
It's going well.
So I'm very intrigued, actually. I love the title, Ray, of your comic, Anti-Hero 113. So I'd love for you to tell all of us what's your story about.
Well, it's basically just a big moral issue, really. It in the comics you see a lot of gray areas where if somebody gets a superpower, they either become a villain or they become a hero. Right. And as we all know, in our world, it's not that easy. It's not that simple. We wouldn't just throw on a pair of tights and go stop crosswalkers from doing it in the wrong places. I think what I wanted to do was get more realistic about it. So in a way that what would really happen if you or I got superpowers, what like abilities. I have a friend at work who tells me if he were to get X-ray vision, he would totally use it in the wrong ways all day, every day.
Awesome.
So not for medical purposes?
No, not at all.
So that's what my skeleton looks like.
I don't think he's looking at skeletons.
And you guys have a Facebook, right? Which I believe the address is facebook.com/Tragic Hero Comics. And so people can kind of go in there. What can they find on that page so far?
We have, I just posted all of the core characters, our would-be heroes and our supposed good guys, who are actually the protagonists of the story.
Ray, can you talk up a little bit about your artist for us?
Yes, the amazing Ryan Scales. He is like seriously my savior. The guy took a chance on a rookie. He has a lot more experience than I do in the industry. He hasn't published anything just yet, but he's an amazing artist. He also has his own page, Iron Lion Studios, it's called. The guy can draw anything you ask him to. He's got open commissions. He's amazing.
Can he draw?
That's awesome.
Oh, I'm sure he can.
I'm very photogenic on drawing paper.
On paper. So you're saying that these people that get some kind of superpower, right? And then they don't necessarily use it like we're used to seeing in the regular comics. So can you give us an example of or a little sneak peek of what happens?
Okay. In the first chapter, we see these kids. They're basically it's anywhere from about 12 years old to about 22 years old who get the powers, the abilities, and you'll find out how and why throughout the stories. But
gotcha.
What happens is these kids who are the outcasts, the ones that nobody really likes, the ones that are ignored and step through the cracks, or fall through the cracks, rather.
Would you say they're geeks?
Yes, absolutely.
Do they do crack?
No.
No, people like you if you do drugs, or at least if you have drugs.
Yeah. That's another show topic, though. We'll talk about it.
There's a funny story, but for another time. So anyway.
That's for the Tweak Speak show, actually.
So basically, these kids who are the least likely to do anything with their lives end up coming through and becoming these amazing heroes who they never thought they could ever be.
Can you tell us their origins? Are we?
Well, they're very vague. It's just like,
is it like one of those things where they just have powers? Or?
they're not born with them. They're given the powers.
I was born this way.
But,
apparently not.
It's something similar to having like an X gene. Really, they just kind of manifest at certain times.
Which is why they're all within the same age range.
Yeah, because the way they gave these kids these powers, they were all targeted when they were younger.
Is it like a secret government thing? Hence the 113, like experiment 113.
Yeah, they this government agency, they're supposedly with the government, but you don't really know that.
Your tax dollars at work.
Yeah, something
Exactly.
like that. They're called the Department of Advanced Research and Knowledge, or DARK for short.
Ooh.
I like it.
We like fun with acronyms.
Yes,
I see what
and
you
they basically want to create a soldier elite, that old chestnut, but they go about it in a different way.
Sneaky, sneaky.
They use 9/11 and the war on terrorism as a catalyst to start their research and create these their soldier elites using the youth of America. So what they do is they create a man-made virus, release it, and the virus is only targeting children of a certain age group. And what they do is they come out publicly saying, "Oh, we have the antivirus, and we're going to save you." And then they become like this great entity in the public eye. So everybody trusts them.
Even though they're called Dark.
Yeah. Well, they don't know that. They're under
A pseudonym.
They're under assumed names. They're fronts for the company.
My name is Whitey McWhite.
My name
like
is
that.
Dr. Good Guy.
I don't work for Dark.
So we are talking today with Ray Zepeda, writer, creator of Anti-Hero 113, and we're all very interested, obviously, all talking about this today. So since you were saying that they get superpowers, but they don't necessarily go to that general, I'm a hero or I'm a villain, what kind of superpower would you want, and what would you do with it?
Me, see, that's the thing is, I probably would go out and be the hero because I've got kind of a superhero complex myself.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I tend to be very protective and help strangers a lot. I try to anyway. I mean, that's the only way I know how to live.
So if I jump Jay in the studio right now,
I'd have to break you in half. I'm sorry.
uh-oh.
I do my own ass kicking, sir.
Oh, then ding ding.
So how far along are we with Anti-Hero 113, like progress-wise?
We are in the finishing stages. I've been working on this for quite a while, about 9 years. It actually, funny story, it started out as a joke between a friend of mine, and we were just bored one day. We said, "Hey, I'm going to create a superhero for you. You create one for me, and we'll see what happens." So the original two characters were the Gothic Avenger and Punk Man.
Punk Man?
Yeah.
Awesome.
I like both of those character archetypes very much. Those are people I would have hung out with in high school.
Yeah. Essentially, it was me and my friend. So I left it alone for like a year, and then I went back to it, and it just kind of snowballed from there.
Ray, can I have a one-shot character that's called Drama Queen?
I think I can handle that, yeah. In fact, I might incorporate all you guys into a one-shot.
That'd be so awesome.
My name is actually One Shot.
We love it.
Your name is actually what, Joel?
Yeah, my character's name should be One Shot, actually.
One shot. One
Must be.
jump.
I'll make it
So-
so that it's only adults can read this thing because it's turning very dirty very fast.
Became a lot
Very
of
quickly.
F-words at the end.
So if everybody goes to facebook.com/Tragic Hero Comics or checks out our link section, of course, are they going to be able to see when it's actually finally ready to pick it up somewhere, or what's that going to look like?
No, not just yet. We are currently working on a pitch to SLG Graphics, or rather SLG Publishing. It's not called SLG Graphics anymore, but it's a publishing studio based in San Jose. You guys might know some of the works that have been published through them. Johnny the Homicidal Maniac,
yeah.
Invader Zim.
Squee.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I've always been a big fan of that studio and the work they are doing. So I thought if we decided to pitch to someone, it would be them first.
Very cool. Very cool.
Should we talk more about the process of how to publish or how to, start and then publish a comic book?
Yeah, how much of your own...
For all our indie listeners out there.
How much of your own resources have you put into this, if you had to put a dollar amount on it?
Oh, man. I'd have to say, presently, I'd say at least $5,000.
Oh, my God.
But that's over a span of like 9 years. So
Still.
Yeah, it's a lot. Thank you to my gracious wife, who is like completely understanding of all my nerdy habits.
Yeah.
She's pounding her fist right now.
I know. She beats me when we get home if I don't stay in line. So
what kind of advice would you give then? Like, for a lot of people that are trying to do indie comics or stories or whatever, at what point do you say, I've put everything I can of my own funds or whatever into it, and at what point do you kind of ask for help or funding?
I'd say, honestly, when you get to the point where you just don't even feel like pitching to any of the major publishers, when you just want to start doing your own publishing, that's when you probably have to start a Kickstarter or find some backer to help you publish your own stuff.
What is this Kickstarter?
I don't know too much about it, but essentially what it is for people to see what you're working on, check your project out, and then back you financially to get it done.
And it's actually really successful. So if you guys are looking for it, definitely.
Yeah, I think I read about 60% of all those projects actually get done.
Yeah, and there's an incentive catalog on Kickstarter where if you have somebody funding your project, if they give a certain dollar amount that you preset, then they get some kind of reward in return when the project is completed. Like you can have them, have your artist do a character profile picture of them in your art style, like with a superhero costume and stuff like that, or villain if they prefer, if they contribute a certain amount of money.
Or anti-hero.
That's right, anti-hero.
Dum, dum, dum.
Smart.
Keyword.
Seeing how that is the comic we're talking about. So Ray Zepeda, creator, writer, Anti-Hero 113. You can check it out at facebook.com/tragicherocomics, or of course our link section.
Any last words, Ray?
I just would like to thank everybody who's supported me thus far and who will be supporting me in the future. This is a love that I have for this medium. It's something that I've been doing since I was a kid. I mean, ever since I picked up my first issue of Spider-Man, I think it was the giant size Amazing Spider-Man 300, the first appearance of Venom.
Nice.
That was very, very just mind-blowing to me. Yeah.
It's a classic.
And I've been doing it ever since. I think I'm even going to do a one-shot of the very first comic book I did as a 12-year-old. It was called Swarm, about a bunch of guys in like bee costumes who are superheroes. Of course, it'll get a little bit more
buzz.
Complex than that.
Have you ever seen the show The Venture Brothers?
I don't. I have not. No.
Oh, because what you said about the bee costumes reminded me of the. Never mind. Okay.
But yeah,
awesome.
That's Ray's.
Well, thanks, Ray, for coming in the studio today, talking about your indie comic Anti-Hero 113, and for kind of sharing the journey with us. It was a pleasure to have you.
Thank you for having me.
And you've got some readers right here in house. We're on board. We're behind you.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
The stories behind the stories with Mark Arnold, exclusively on the Geek Speak show.
Hi, this is Mark Arnold from the Stories Behind the Stories, and on today's show we have Diana Green. And Diana Green has worn a lot of hats over the years. She's taught over a decade. Her studio practice in comics continues to grow with new comics and new graphic novels in the works. And since 2006, she's been a presenting member of the Popular Culture Association. She was both a contributor and member of the editorial board for the Greenwood Press Encyclopedia of Comic Books and Graphic Novels, and has articles and 4 academic volumes scheduled for publication in the next year. So lots of stuff for Diana to talk about with me. So hi, Diana. Welcome to the show.
Thanks. It's an honor to be here. How's life in your part of the world?
It's very good here.
Good.
And
Yeah, we just started our new semester. I'm teaching a graphic novel course online. I'm also teaching history of rock and roll in the classroom, which is quite a departure from teaching about comics.
Wow. So my first question is, how did you get into a career of teaching college courses about comic books? And you can also talk about rock and roll. That's a kind of an interesting teaching subject as well. So let me know about that as well.
Well, I've only been teaching about rock for less than a year, but like most people, I've been listening and playing forever. Getting into teaching about comics, first you have to be aware that it's an option. I was floundering in my art career for a while, and decided I needed to retool. Stopped in at Minneapolis College of Art and Design, thinking I'd just take a couple Photoshop classes and bring my skills back up to speed. And I started in with my usual litany of, well, nobody teaches about comics, so I can't learn what I really want to learn. And they said, oh, we have a comic book illustration major. I said, okay, that's it, I'm sunk. So I finished my undergrad degree, and in the process I found out that I'm a pretty good artist, I'm a better writer, and I'm still a better scholar. And in the process of completing this degree, I discovered along the way that while I thought I knew about comics, I was a rank amateur compared to some of the people who have been studying this stuff for years. This year, for the first time, an Eisner Award was given for academic study of comics. And I was so proud of that because comics kind of want to be taken seriously, and they kind of don't. The whole outlaw cachet thing factors into it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, and back to how I got into it, was mostly dumb luck. I met people who respected the stuff I was saying and supported it, and one of them hired me, and I did a good job, and they kept me working.
So with your instruction, when you're instructing your students, what type of courses do they? What do you kind of teach them? I guess is what would be a sample type class in a shortened version, I suppose, if that makes sense.
Sure. Well, the three primary courses I teach at MCAD, Minneapolis College of Art and Design, are the history of comic books, history of underground comics, also known as Rebel Visions, and readings from the graphic novel, which is what I'm currently teaching. In history of comics, the problem is that while most of the students are comic majors, they have a limited perspective of what comics have been and what comics could be. So when I show them work that I consider iconic, like Milt Kanis' Steve's Canyon or Al Cap's Little Abner, they don't know how to read it because they haven't been exposed to the language of comics in an older format. So getting through the new ideas is the challenge. I start, when I'm teaching history of comics, I start with Rudolph Topfer in the 1800s, and I try to carry it right up to what's going on now. The last textbook we used last time was the first volume of Chew. I think it's phenomenal. How can you not love Chew?
Right. It's a great book.
The Kung Fu Chicken alone is worth the price of admission.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, and it's a paradox too, because it's work that you want to be taken seriously on an academic level, but you don't want to take the joy out of comics. Because comics are joy. That's what they are.
Very good. I was just wondering, we're speaking with Diana Green here, and I was just wondering, what do you hope students take away, or what do you hope that they learn from you with your instruction?
Oh, boy. Well, I'd like to think everything I say is gospel. They're going to hang on it forever, and it's going to stick in their minds for their lives. But realistically, it's a college course. Maybe it's a series of college courses. And most students, when they're done with the course, they'll file most of the material away and move directly on to the next course. And what I hope they take away is that there's one or two pieces of work, one or two artists, one or two writers, one or two stories that they would not have been exposed to otherwise, that they come back to, that lead them to other stories. This is the kind of thing that you don't learn about it until after you're done studying. And if they realize that, and if they get that, then what they do when they leave my class will be more important than what they do while they're there. I still want them to do what's important for it.
Right.
I still give them an F if they don't do the work. And it's frustrating when you have to give an F to somebody who's a comic major in comic history. Luckily, it doesn't happen very often.
That's good. Switching focus a little bit, I was reading some of the things that you've done in the past, and one of the things you wrote an article about was Alan Moore's Promethea, and you wrote about its theological implications. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure, that was just published in a book edited by Dan Clanton from Sheffield Press. The name of the book is The End Will Be Graphic, Apocalyptic in Comic Books and Graphic Novels. And I can get that right because I just grabbed the book off the shelf. The anthology is full of some phenomenal work by people, including a great scholar, A. David Lewis, who is a theologian first and a comic scholar second, although that's a tough call for him. Anyway, my piece on this talks about how what Moore is doing in Promethea is similar to what Teilhard de Chardin was doing in his study of Christianity in China in the early 1900s. You familiar?
Not sure, no.
Okay, here's the deal. De Chardin was one of these mystic priests who was so wrapped up in the cosmology that the Vatican kind of didn't trust him. They kept assigning him to China, where he became an archaeologist. Mm-hmm. And in the process of his archaeology, he discovered the first tomb. The tomb of the first emperor of China, the one with all the army of clay soldiers in it.
I see.
So he discovered, and he wrote about how post-apocalyptic Christianity would enter a new sphere of existence. Which is kind of the same thing Moore's writing about in Promethea, which is interesting because by Christian terms, Alan Moore is a heathen.
I've heard that.
But his approach to Christianity is actually very reverent. If you look at the pages in Promethea where he's showing Christ on the cross, the two Prometheus are looking at him saying, this is the best of humanity, and we hung it out and tried and killed it. What does that say about us? And it's such a phenomenal departure for him. I find everything Moore does fascinating. I think he's kind of turned into a cranky old man, but his work is still worth reading.
So, another project that I've noticed that you worked on, I'm intrigued to hear about the gay subtext in EC Comics. I mean, I'm a big EC Comics fan, but I haven't really noticed that per se, so I was just curious what prompted that sort of writing.
Sure. That was in Comic Books in the Cold War, edited by Chris York and Raphael York, which was published by McFarlane Press last fall, early spring, I'm not sure anymore, it's all a big blur. Anyway, the subtext is in a handful of stories. They're mostly in the horror books. There's one in the science fiction books and weird science called There'll Be Some Changes Made, which is about a space astronaut. What are they called? Space travelers, adventurers. Captain Kirk type, who lands on another planet, falls in love with one of the locals, and decides to stay behind, only to discover that the people of this planet are really reproducing like snails, and they change sex before they reproduce. And in the last planet, his wife is now a male and says, I wish you'd hurry up and change so that things can get back to normal.
I do remember that story, yes.
There's also a horror story called Operation Friendship about a man who's so in love with his best friend's mind that he performs lobotomy on it and keeps part of the mind in a jar and lets the rest of the mind live on in the guy's body so he can go off with his lame-brained wife, which is both homoerotic and misogynist, building on principles that appear throughout film noir. The most notable example is in Gilda. Mm-hmm. And there's a story, I can't recall the name of it right now, about the last Martian. It's about human beings moving to Mars and finding out when they get there that they're sterile and that Martian animals reproduce asexually. And one man stays behind when the rest go back to Earth to die off. And he reproduces, and all of a sudden there's two of them. And the implication is going to be an all-male society based on one individual. And it's a society that throws away all the brutality of the society that was left behind. And I close that. That's the last story I cite in this article, and I close it with a quote from Alan Moore's Mirror of Love about how we can transcend our brutality. I'm trying to find the specific passage even as we talk. So if it's in secret, that's not it. I suppose it would help if I looked in the actual index of the book. There we go.
Well, while you're looking, I'll just ask this. First of all, I'll say your name again. You're Diana Green, and this is who we're interviewing for the Stories Behind the Stories. Just curious, during writing this particular article, did you ever consult Al Feldstein, the writer and editor of most of those books?
I would have liked to. I didn't think of it until I'd already submitted it, and I'm in the process of submitting to the same publisher a proposal for an anthology on gay topics in comics. And if I do that, I'd certainly be in touch with Feldstein. I'd like to do it before it's too late because he's not a young man.
Right.
I haven't met him, just in passing at San Diego, just to say hi, because at the time I was so tired and so overwhelmed I couldn't think of what else to say. But there was nobody paying attention to him. It's so strange when there are all these giants of comics and people ignore them.
Yeah, I have friends that wonder about that with Al Feldstein. It's like, here's somebody that's associated with two of the biggest comic book related concepts, Tales from the Crypt and Mad Magazine, yet most people ignore them completely, which is kind of a shame.
Yeah, if nothing else, pay attention to the stories that he's there to tell, because he won't be there to tell them much longer.
Right.
I consider myself lucky. I was able to talk to C.C. Beck back in the very first con I ever went to.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about Will Eisner. There's somebody I was sad I never met. Okay, the quote I closed the article with from Alan Moore's Mirror of Love: "So harassed, we were so jubilant, the first rung of our climb achieved." And that's in reference to the EC story. Oh, geez, I've lost it again. Okay, sorry. But there's another post-code EC story that's fascinating in this regard. Remember the new trend books, those psychoanalysis and all that? Well, in psychoanalysis, one of the 4 stories was the story of a kid named Freddie Milton, whose parents thought that he was at risk of being, well, they used code, but they thought he was at risk of being gay because he wasn't interested in sports, he liked music, he wasn't particularly good at physical things, like literature, and these are all red flags, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And the psychologist was able to pull him through it. But the kid's name was Freddie Milton, which sounded a little bit to me like Frederick Milton Wharton. And I think that was a coincidence. I've never been able to find anything to substantiate it. But I thought it was intriguing and kind of humorous. The story with the asexual Martians is called Genesis.
Got it. Okay.
It's Al Feldstein writing and Reed Crandall doing the art.
Okay.
I think in order to teach about this stuff and in order to write about this stuff, first of all, you have to love this stuff, and the love can't go away. I remember when I was studying animation at the University of Wisconsin, as soon as I found out really how it was really done, there was a brief period of time when I was watching a cartoon and all I could see was the cells. But that went away.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I was watching a really good cartoon, I saw the cartoon. When I was watching a really bad cartoon, I saw the process.
Right. I think I do that myself.
Yeah, if you dress poorly, you notice the dress. You dress well, you notice the woman. Chanel.
Well, I want to thank you for joining us today on the Stories Behind the Stories. Do you have where will you be appearing next, if you make any appearances, or what projects are you working on, or if you want to plug a website?
I post my own work and some of my reviews at my blog, Prosper and Ignatz Meet Gentle Giant, which is a reference to Jim Woodring's comics, Crazy Cat and Ignatz, and my favorite band, Gentle Giant. I'm presenting a paper at the end of September at Schoolgirls in Mobile Suits at Minneapolis College for Art and Design. I'm working on the aforementioned book project, and I have work in the MCAD Faculty Art Show, which is now up, and the official opening, I think, is this coming Friday. And that's book from my current comic series, The Surrealist Cowgirls.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Diana. It was a pleasure talking with you.
It's been my pleasure. I hope I didn't ramble too much.
Okay, thank you very much.
You can hear the complete story behind the stories by going to funideas.50webs.com. That's 50webs.com. funideas.50webs.com. The stories behind the stories, exclusively on the Geek Speak Show. It's time for the Geek Speak Show Book Club. Our books or graphic novels. Tell us what your favorites are. Books at thegeekspeakshow.com.
And it's that time again for the book club. Who wants to go first?
Joel does.
I think he does.
Joel always wants to go first.
Me? Read a book?
Actually, Ray is still in the studio with us, and he brought a book.
Yes, I did.
He brought a book for the whole class.
I did.
Oh, it's
Special
a special.
guest.
Yes. Tell us, Ray, what is your book?
I wanted to bring in Brian K. Vaughan's The Runaways because he definitely inspired my writing.
Brian K. Vaughan is God of my world.
He is of mine too.
Run away.
It's just two of us in that world, but still a world.
Well, and Brian K. Vaughan, so I'm happy with that.
That works.
We can share him.
And for those
He's
of us
dreamy.
that haven't read it, tell us why this is your pick of the week.
The reason I like this is because, like Anti-Hero 113, it's not your traditional spin on superheroes. These kids are the kids of a group of supervillains who find out that their parents are villains and pretty much run away to try to stop them, essentially.
The ultimate act of rebellion.
Yeah. The ultimate act of...
Who's the artist?
The artist... There's various artists, actually.
Oh, yeah?
It's a
I
Marvel
thought it was
book.
just one
It's
all
a
the way through.
Marvel book. What did you expect?
There's... let's see here. Adrian Alfona, Craig Young...
You're reading it
Christina
upside
Strain.
down, man.
Oh, that's what it is. Joe Chen and Takashi Maizawa?
That's what we do here at the Geek Speak Show.
Miyazawa.
We butcher names.
I will not be the first nor the last.
Probably. Awesome.
All right. So, who wants to go next?
Still you. Still
Should
you.
I go next?
Yeah.
Okay. I was watching Lost World the other day, so I wanted to bring out Jurassic Park. But
Yes.
not part one. I'm talking about the novel, because it was a novel before it became adapted by Steven Spielberg. It was a novel by Michael Crichton. Is that how Crichton?
Crichton,
That's
like
what we do in the
Farscape.
Geek Speak Show. We butcher names of art.
Oh, cripes. I told you I wasn't the last.
Not even the last today.
So if you don't know what Jurassic Park is, it's about dinosaurs.
It's about genetically engineered from mosquito DNA dinosaurs. And
Yep.
they have frog
And it's-
stuff in them, and they change gender at will. And
Basically, it's a cautionary tale.
Hey,
You
there's
know,
a dinosaur in
It's
Runaways.
about power. It's about man versus man versus himself, and man versus nature, and you get the whole,
And why should we read the novel, Joel?
because you need to think about responsibility.
a lot more people die in it.
Yeah, and it is a lot better than the movie, but because it's a novel, you could do a lot more in a novel than you can do in a movie. So
Sadly, though, it doesn't have Samuel L. Jackson in it.
but you could probably
Good point.
You get a lot more Dennis Nedry, I'll tell you that.
Ooh, who?
Dennis Nedry?
The chubby guy.
Is he Newman from Seinfeld?
Yes,
Okay.
That would be
for
him.
us who only know the movie. Newman. Okay.
Hello, Jerry.
All right, my turn. I have the epic Batman Arkham Asylum, a serious house. Cut. Oh man, let me try this again. Take two. Batman Arkham Asylum, a serious house on serious Earth, by Grant Morrison and Dave McKean.
Who's Grant Morrison? I don't know that guy.
Yeah, we don't know Joss Whedon here either. But
Is that what, Josh?
Joss. But Arkham Asylum, a serious house on serious Earth, is is epic storytelling at its absolute finest, and it involves the GD Batman, as only Grant Morrison can bring him to life. I actually got this book for 2 reasons. I have the 15th anniversary edition, which has the completed Grant Morrison script in the back. Once again, talking about being independent comics producers, writers, owners, creators. He lays it all out for you, and there's little liner notes and stuff like that. It's like special features, but on a book, which is what I live for.
Your life sucks, Jay.
Thanks.
No, it doesn't.
It sounds a lot like my life.
And Dave McKean's artwork is La Fantastico. It is, it at times very hard to read and understand what's going on. It's very dreamlike and moody and dark, and there's all of these layers and collages and themes going on in the background of the story, like tarot cards and mirrors, and it's got this Alice in Wonderland kind of feel to it.
It's like at the end of it, you feel like you've learned something.
Exactly. This book will make you smart.
But you just wound up reading Batman.
Yeah.
Rachel, what do you have, you sexy fan?
All right. So I have an interesting one this week. So I was at my friend's house and I saw this book on the shelf and I was like, oh, this looks really cool. What is this? And it's The Complete Utopia Chronicles by Matthew Mather. And I flipped open the book and read a few pages and was like, oh my God, why have I never read this before? So basically there's this doctor, Patricia, and she's trying to save the world from itself by giving everyone everything they always wanted. So she invents this polysynthetic sensory interface, which
try saying
basically
that 5 times fast.
Yeah, seriously, I had to think about it. But it basically tricks the brain, and it tricks you into thinking or seeing things or whatever. It's a sensory
I thought tricks
overload.
were for kids.
Well, in this case, it's for everyone, and basically she thinks she's going to help or save mankind by doing this, but then as it turns out, it's it gets pretty dark, and she might have made it worse than it was to begin with.
So is it like a Flowers for Algernon type story?
It's one of those that starts out with, I'm going to try to help everyone, and then, it kind of goes downhill real fast.
Plans of Mice and Men or something.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So, but what I've read so far is totally engrossing you into the pages. So I highly recommend. I'm trying to finish it myself. Complete Utopia Chronicles by Matthew Mather. It's amazing.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how mind-blowing is it?
Well, so far it's way up there, and I haven't even read the whole thing, so I'll give you the number after the fact. But yeah, it's something that if you like anything kind of post-apocalyptic, mix it with a little sci-fi, whatever, this is one you have to read.
I'm sorry, Rachel. The correct answer was 11 million.
Yes, exactly.
And on that note, the show's done. No more show.
I think to our guest Ray for adding in his book pick for the week. You guys can check it out on the link section of our page, of course, geekspeak.com. And we'll have the books up there for you to check out. And you could do a little reading this week. You never know. And next week...
yeah.
And I have some prizes in store for you. We're not going to tell. We're not even going to tell Joel because he needs to be surprised as well. So...
He's always surprised. He just wakes up and is like, oh, I'm still here.
Dude.
I like surprises.
So come on back next week and we will
speak more geek.
That's right.
The Geek Speak Show will be back next week with a brand new episode. In the meantime, follow them on Twitter at Geek Speak Show 1. That's the number 1. Become a fan on Facebook. Subscribe on iTunes. Watch special event coverage and the Geek Speak video show on YouTube/Geek Speak Videos. And listen to past shows in the archive section on thegeekspeakshow.com. A big thank you to the Geek Speak Show's content providers, GeekTyrant.com, Collider.com, RamaScreen.com, and MightyVille.com. The Geek Speak Show.